Hey everybody, 14 Guitars here. Hope you're all doing well. I am at Wambaw Cycle Trail, just finishing up with a great ride. I wasn't gonna ride because I ate so much lunch today. I had a full belly, but I was going up to Wambaw anyway to meet Chris and Stephanie and let Stephanie ride my dirt bike to see what how the YZ250 feels. She's thinking about getting a YZ250X. And we'll see if she ends up doing that or not. But anyway, so after she and Chris rode the north, I went ahead and rode the north and had a really nice time. Like I said, I was pretty full, especially at the start of the ride, because I ate so much at lunch. Even though it was 1 o'clock, I had a big hamburger and a big thing of potato salad, and then I went and got and I had French fries, actually onion strings. And then I went and got a huge milkshake, butter pecan milkshake at Republic Ice Cream. I think it's called Republic Ice Cream. It's Republic something. It's about 50 yards from Poe's on the Isle of Palms. And just enjoyed that meal with my best friend. It's pretty full. But I went out and rode anyway and really had a nice time. The conditions are pretty spectacular right now. It rained yesterday, last night actually, and they didn't close the trails. There's a few puddles on the trails, but actually on the trails themselves, almost no puddles, just a couple. But the sand was really, really good. Really good. Maybe very slightly too wet, right? Because the sand will get stronger and stronger and better traction up to a point. And then if you add a little more water than that, it gets mushy and falls apart for whatever reason. I think I talked about it on my ride. I guessed at the physics of why that might happen. And I'm sure there are great videos on YouTube that will explain it. Anyway, great ride. If you get a chance, the trail is going to be fantastic, probably for the next several days if it doesn't get too hot. And I think it's going to be fairly cool for the next couple of days. Tomorrow night, I think it's going to be 51 degrees tonight. This is Tuesday the 8th. And tomorrow night, 51 again. But only a high maybe of 70 tomorrow, 71, something like that. So the trails, even if it doesn't rain again, the trail is going to be really nice. So if you get a chance to get out to Wambaw, please take advantage, get out and ride, have a great time. Appreciate you watching my videos. If you like my videos, any video that you like, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to get notification when I post videos, just hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell. When you subscribe, you're gonna see my videos in your subscriptions, but you won't get a notice necessarily of when I put a new video up. If you hit the little bell, you're gonna get a little note, ding, or something. I'm not even sure what happens. Maybe it's a little flag in the upper right that essentially lets you know, hey, so-and-so posted a video. All right. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all getting out and being able to ride and enjoying the spring. At least down here it's spring. I know in Pennsylvania, I talked to a lady on the phone today, and she said it's pretty darn cold up there. But spring is coming. Spring is coming. It's already here in the low country of South Carolina. Y'all take care. Thanks. Bye-bye. What do you say, everybody? 14 Guitars here. I think it's the 9th of September, of April. It's whatever Tuesday is. I guess it could be 6th, 7th, could be the 8th. Look it up if you don't mind. I don't know how to make my watch go back. Let's see. Yeah, it's the Tuesday the 8th. So I'm up here at Wambaw Cycle Trail, north of Charleston, about 30 miles. And I'm going to ride the North Loop, just for fun. I was actually just here, I've been here about an hour, a little over an hour. Chris and Stephanie of Wambaw Trail Riders fame, and the best hosts we've ever had, and the best advocates for our trails in South Carolina that we've ever had. They were here, and Stephanie's looking at possibly getting a new dirt bike. So I let her ride my YZ250 Woods Beast here, and she did the full North Loop, and she had a lot of fun. Said it was pretty good. Liked all the extra power and liked the way it applied the power. And if you want to know how my bike is set up, just go to the comment section of every video. It's down there in the comments section. Not the comments, the description section. I've got all the setup for the bike, the jetting, suspension, all that. The one thing that threw here was this paddle tire. This paddle tire, if you're used to sliding around a sandy corner by giving it gas, you're not going to slide. You're going to get grip. And I know for me, it definitely threw me for a loop the first couple times I rode it. However, I pretty quickly got used to it, and now I prefer it. I really, really love the feel of having that grip around the corner in all conditions. This is just a fun little loop to get a workout. I had a huge lunch and a milkshake and I need a little workout. I'm still kind of stuffed, even though it's been, I think it was 1 o'clock and it's like 5:30 now, 5:40. And man, huge hamburger, bunch of sides, drank a beer with one of my best friends, and then we had a huge milkshake afterwards, real ice cream, and I'm a little bit lactose intolerant, so anyway, just a fun ride. And one thing to watch out for on the North Loop, and I'll show it to you on the video, is there's a tree across, a pretty big tree across the road, across the trail. Chris and Stephanie marked it a little bit with some brush, you know, put some brush vertically, with a couple of sticks, and we'll figure out where that is, and we'll put that in the, mark that on the map. I'm sure it'll get cleaned up in the near future, but for now it's still there. So beware, there's a tree on the trail. As you can see, we've got puddles in the parking lot. You know what that means. The dirt's going to be in great condition. Look at that dirt. Wow. Beautiful dirt. Wow. Wow, this dirt. Oh. Fantastic. Oh my goodness. I haven't seen this dirt this nice in quite a while. I haven't been to Wambaw too many times this year yet, so haven't had a chance to get out here after a rain lately. But oh my goodness. Nice. Nice dirt. Of the year on any track I've been on this year. The dirt alone is spectacular, but add to that the cool weather. Wow, it's just so nice. Now this time of year, I've mentioned it before, the sun gets very low on the horizon. So we're going to have the sun in our eyes a good bit of this, but it's getting low enough now that it'll actually set probably while we're out here. just so good. Spectacular. Spectacular conditions. Get out to Wambaw while it's nice and wet. So we had a good rain last night, and as I've said before, if you can get out here after rain, that's when the sand really shines, right? When it's moist. So I was actually watching a cool YouTube video on, I think it was entitled, Why Holes in the Beach Are So Deadly. Something like that. And it's this engineering guy, YouTube channel. And he was explaining that sand holds its shape based on the weight of the sand in the pile. And also the friction between the grains of sand. And as you add a little bit of water, the friction goes up. But when you reach a certain level of water, the friction suddenly goes back down. And these conditions seem to be pretty perfect for maximizing that friction. Just the right amount of moisture. In the sand. Whew. You know, the bike didn't need to get warmed up because Stephanie was just riding it. But I didn't get a warm up at all. So I got a giant hit of oxygen debt. You know, like when you got to pay a loan, you're in debt. A little oxygen debt from starting off riding hard with no warm-up. So I'll have to pay that debt back by taking it a little easy. Maybe not talk so much for a little bit. Also, my belly is still very full. And so when you're full, your body sends blood to your stomach to help process the food. Remember, blood carries oxygen, so any blood not going to your organs that are used for riding is taking with it a little bit of the oxygen that your organs could be using. That's why you don't swim on a full stomach, and why you probably shouldn't dirt bike on a full stomach. Anyway, though, what a blessing to be out riding on such a beautiful day in such a beautiful place. And for me, at age 63, very, very happy. Come out and get a good workout. And just have fun. adjusted my suspension a little bit for Stephanie. She's a good bit lighter than me. I'm about 175 pounds. And I think I like it. He tightened up my rebound just a little bit. And on the shock, tighten up the compression just a little bit. So rebound on the forks and compression and rebound on my shock. Just the low speed, not the one where you need a wrench on the shock. I don't know if that's high or low speed. I think that's the high speed, but the low speed, which is the clickers. That's low speed compression. High speed compression is where you bang on a bump at a high rate of speed, and it moves. It's the speed the shock moves, not how fast the bike's going. So think of hitting like a curve. If you hit a curve at very high speed, the shock would move very quickly, right? That's a high speed compression. He didn't adjust that. But low speed. Even at this temperature, I still get my hair and my gear soaking wet to keep my body as cool as possible and keep running efficiently. If it was in the 40s, I wouldn't do that. But you know, around 70 degrees, you're going to generate a lot of heat, burning the energy required to move your muscles on a dirt bike. So keeping your body cool means that your heart doesn't have to do it by pumping more blood than is necessary just for the oxygen to work the muscle. So your heart rate could be lower. We said it before, heart rate in summer is going to be higher, maybe even 10 beats a minute higher on average than winter. Just to help keep your body cool. Now my front end is a little bit knifey. I don't know why. Might just be the sand conditions. I think Chris and Stephanie noted that there's a little bit of funkiness in the way the sand, like right there. You know, my front kind of fell out from underneath me. I'm running 11.5 psi in front on the M59 and 9.5 on the Dunlop M14. The front is a Bridgestone M59, my favorite front tire by far. There's the old sun in the eye, so got to pull the visor down, which I normally ride with the visor all the way up, just to see as much of the woods as I can. enjoy this beautiful ride for a while now. Kind of like a full screen TV instead of a half screen. I love looking up and seeing the tops of the trees, blue sky, just taking it all in. Strung through it, so it's not going to shut by accident from the wind. But when you go to lock it, you just pull the chain out. It's quite easy. It's just a way of holding the gate without having to have any kind of latches or anything, and without the gate shutting all by itself in the wind. You can actually tilt that pole when you install a gate. You can tilt the pole away from the gate. Right, if the gate is shut flat, you tilt the pole away from the gate slightly. If you open it, the gate will open on gravity all by itself. It'll swing open. All right, so there's a tree right here. Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty big tree. So Chris and Stephanie put those markers up there, kind of give you an alert. Dang. Didn't realize how far over I've gotten from the trail there. So it's right before the split where you can go back to the parking lot here. Take the short loop back to the parking lot. There's a big tree right there, big pine tree. We'll mark that on our map. With all the stuff they marked it with, there's warning if you know it's coming. If you don't know it's coming, you may not understand what those sticks are there for. So hopefully you watch this video before you come out and ride if that tree hasn't been taken care of. Tree is about 5.5 miles in. Some of the super bikes racing the Isle of Man, you know, the summary from 2024. Holy smokes, those guys go over 200 miles an hour on those super bikes through city streets, you know, not specially made roads, although I wouldn't be surprised if they did some upgrades to the roads over the years. They lose a couple of riders every year. They are killed out there riding that course. So it's a dangerous course because of the speeds and because it's not a track. You're going 200 miles an hour and you've got a rock wall, you know, 8 feet, 3 feet away from you. So the slightest problem, you know, a tire goes flat at high speed, or a little oil comes out of a seal, gets on your rear tire. And that's actually a couple examples of what killed a couple of people. Joey Dunlop and I think Robert Dunlop. Little mechanical failures. Like I said, it's the Isle of Man. I think it's the Isle of Man TT. It's the Isle of Man race over there, and I think it's one of the UK islands. I'm not sure, but I think Manx cats, you know, the cats with no tails, I think they come from there. And they got the world's coolest flag, which is, I believe, just three legs from the knee down, running in a circle, like a propeller made out of 3 legs with boots on, from the knee down, all connected at the knee. The knee part is the sprocket, and the legs and feet and boots are the spokes. Pretty wild. I'm sure it has something to do with, you know, the rulers. Maybe there were 3 different rulers at one time that shared the load, or maybe a guy defeated 3 different kings. There's so much cool history. Like I said, I've been getting into history lately. You go back and look at coats of arms and that kind of stuff. Heraldry. A herald is the flag that represents a great leader or a great knight. And the British guys are screaming right now about how wrong I am. You know, it's a rough estimate of what I've got stuck into my head just looking a little bit of history lately. Everybody can look anything I say. Please, if you're interested, please look it up because I make all kinds of mistakes. Sometimes I come back and clarify, but sometimes I don't. So, but there's like everything means something on these flags that represent these rulers. A lot of times it's family names, or it's a certain kind of groups of knights that you might be asked to belong to if you were particularly valiant and capable in battle. The Order of the Garter, things like that. And that's about everything I know about it, so please, if you're interested, look up heraldry and the feudal system, knights of the realm, all that stuff. You know, knights were kind of the weapons of mass destruction back in the day. They were powerful. They had armor that made them very hard to kill. They practiced their trade of being great warriors. They were strong. They were great leaders. You didn't get to become a knight if you couldn't perform in real life, in battle. And if you couldn't perform in battle, you didn't live very long. I've slowed way down here. it's still a beautiful ride. You can see the conditions. We'll consider this just a condition report. I would call these conditions fantastic. The woods smell wonderful. It's a very, very fragrant time of year. It almost smells like cedar, but more fresh. Like if you, it's funny, I hate to compare the woods to deodorant, but when deodorant says, you know, fresh scent, that's kind of what it smells like, fresh. And I believe that's just the way the woods smell today. With everything sprouting this time of year. Well, we're going to test the suspension now. We didn't make dramatic changes. So far, so good. Pretty good. Feels pretty good. The reason I'm slowing down is I'm having a little bit of trouble focusing my vision. When I just get a little bit low on oxygen, it's harder for my brain to choose between my two eyes. My right eye has distance vision, and my left eye is more close-up. And that's what I chose when I had my cataract surgery. And normally, I like to say I can see everything from the hair on my arms to heaven. But when I get a little bit out of breath, I lose a little bit of the ability to switch between near and far vision. And so I'm just taking it a little easy because my depth perception is affected when I have a hard time switching back and forth like that. I have never seen people walking through the woods like that. That was kind of nice. Hopefully I wasn't too loud on the pipe when I passed them. You know, the woods are fair use. We all own these woods. These are the national forest. Remember, you are a public landowner. These are our public lands. The government manages our public lands. Never forget that. They're ours. Now, we are limited to what we can do because of our process of having representatives in Congress and the House of Representatives as far as managing our public lands for us. But part of your vote, who you choose, can affect whether you keep your public lands or they get sold off. So keep that as a consideration. There are other things that could easily outweigh that, you know, life and death type things. But once those issues are satisfactorily covered by whoever your representative is, you can move down the next step of things like public lands, public land access, fair use, so that everybody, we're talking hikers, horseback riders, bicyclists, dirt bike riders, even four-wheel drive drivers, who I'm a little prejudiced against, and I shouldn't be, but you know, I notice, you know, I don't want to be, but I do notice it in myself a little bit. You know, people who ride quads, And Jeeps, to me, you know, I always get the feeling, oh, they're going to mess my trail up. Well, it's not my trail. It's our trail. And I share it with them. So when I feel myself, that's a natural reaction, right? I have my tribe. My tribe is dirt bike riders. When I feel myself becoming super tribal like that, I just try to remember this isn't my land exclusively. I share this land with everybody else in America. If it was my private property, then there's no compromise, right? Certain things happen on my private property, and other things are never going to happen on my private property. But this is property I share with my fellow Americans. So I kind of have to take a step back, make myself remember, hey man, this is our public lands, not my public. I am a public landowner, but I own it with all my brothers and sisters, American U.S. citizens. Taking it away from one group, when somebody is in power that maybe doesn't like that particular activity, when somebody else gets in power that doesn't like my activity, it makes it easy for them to take that away from me. So I think the golden rule applies, or the rule of Confucius: do unto others what you would have done to you. And another verse is, do unto others what they would have done to them. But it boils down to, we all know, don't mistreat other people, don't be selfish, share what you don't own exclusively, share what other people own with you, take other people into consideration if they're in joint ownership. So I'm always for maintaining all the trails: hiking, horseback riding, mountain biking, and dirt biking, and four-wheel driving. All trails, all the time, managed properly, fair use. And I personally like to do 3 or 4 of those things. I like dirt bikes, I like horseback riding, I like hiking, I like mountain biking. I just don't happen to have a Jeep. I'd probably be doing that too if I had a 4-wheel drive. I no doubt would be 4-wheeling somewhere, even if just to go hunting or camping. Oh, this sun is bright, baby. Woo! nice low humidity day. Tomorrow night it's going to be 50 degrees, and I'm going to go camping. I might do a camping video. I keep threatening to do one. Just the camping is so much fun. I hate to film it. It's such solitude. I almost hate to interrupt it with anything like filming. Just a little funky, and I don't know why. I don't know if I'm getting a little bit of brake drag. I'll put it up on the stand when I get back and check it out, make sure it's all smooth. But it's probably just these conditions. The sand can only handle so much water. Like I said, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and then it gets dramatically weaker and collapses. So you get a surface tension in between each grain, but when the water, when a certain number of water droplets, or a certain percentage of water, I think the negative charge in the water interrupts the surface tension. I think that's what causes it, but I'm just guessing based on I believe that water has a negative charge. So if you get too much negative charge, I'm guessing you get a little bit of, instead of attraction, you get a little bit of repulsion. So repulsive force would mean that the molecules or the pieces of sand can't stick together as much where the molecules are touching each other. Think of that attraction like glue, and you add something to the glue that makes it actually want to kind of push itself apart. Then the glue is going to make the sand even weaker instead of stronger. A nice sized little whoopie-doos out here on the sand trail now. some mushy stuff right there. Just keep up your momentum. Small corrections. Don't try to force the bike on any specific, you know, too sharp of a trajectory. Just a nice, smooth, general path. Somewhere in the middle of the trail and not going off the trail. Pileated woodpecker. He was on the ground. They're not usually on the ground like that. He's still flying. Very cool. Pileated woodpecker are the biggest woodpeckers in South Carolina. Really big, like 1.5 feet long. Bright red head. Kind of a woody woodpecker. Top notch. Very loud. Huge nests in dead pines. Like the hole is like a vertical hole, 3 inches wide and 1 foot tall. Beautiful birds. And when they do their knock, you can hear it for a long way, probably more than a mile, I would estimate. And maybe in certain conditions a couple miles, I don't know. Sound can do some pretty amazing things with the right conditions. I was a sonar man on the Navy submarine as a youngster, you know, age 18 to 24. And there were times, you know, when sound would almost disappear in the ocean. And there were conditions where it could travel hundreds of miles, depending on the frequency and the temperature versus depth of water and how salty the water was. So temperature, pressure, meaning depth, and salinity, they affect how fast sound moves in water. So you could have conditions where, very specific conditions, where the temperature changed versus the depth. So the sound would go down and bend back up and bounce off the surface. Go back down and bend back up and bounce off the surface. And go for more than 100 miles. You could have other conditions where the sound would just bend down the deeper it goes until it reaches the deep depths of the ocean. So you could be 10 miles away and not hear it, depending on your sensors and all that stuff, of course. None of that, I'm not giving any specifics, so there's no secret stuff I'm talking about here. Just what sound can do in the ocean. So I actually was, one of my jobs to predict, based on the conditions, how sound would travel. And for a young kid, you know, a high school dropout, which I was at the time, you know, I took the GED when I was 16. Learning actual stuff was so cool, so exciting, because I didn't do any of that in my high school years. I didn't graduate high school, and I was barely there, you know, when I still was in high school. I think I quit my first semester of 11th grade because my grades were so bad I would have to go 3 more years. Yeah, 11th, 12th, and an extra year to catch up to graduate. And this is at a time where I was living by myself, and I was hitchhiking around with a sign that said I need work. Living in my mine shaft dug into a hillside, covered in tin. visiting friends to get some food, a place to crash, and go back to my mine shaft and sleep there. And whatever work I could get hitchhiking, I essentially used for food and for parties. And that was it. Imagine a 16-year-old, you know, living by yourself, coming from a culture of heavy party. Everyone in my family was a heavy partier, except my mother, but at all age levels, all the men in my family. So for my father, it was heavy alcohol use, go out dancing till 2 or 3 in the morning, you know, get up at dawn, go gold mining for 12 hours, go out and do it again. He was just a, you know, he was an Iron Man in the real sense of the word. He was just such a strong man. Physically, just, you know, that you read about these guys, these heroes in these history stories, and they're like, they could eat any food, they could stand any kind of abuse, they could ride 100 miles a day for weeks at a time. He was that kind of guy. He was just a Superman. But he made a lot of bad choices. Then my older brother, and I was kind of a sidekick, he was 5 years older than me. You know, he was doing all kinds of interesting substances. Won't have me help him out with either using these substances or going and getting them. So anyway, going from that into the military, where I was trusted with a $1 billion submarine, and we were the, you know, the eyes and ears of the boat. Once you're underwater, sonar's it. We are what keeps you from crashing into other people. The navigation guys keep you from crashing into mountains. We keep you from crashing into other submarines or ships. And of course we got a whole nother job, right? Which is seeing what's underwater in the location you happen to be at. That was a lot of fun at such a young age to have that kind of responsibility. And man, I would sit in sonar for hours and go through the dictionary and look up a lot of the terms that we used that describe our craft. When I say craft, I mean our expertise in sound. Like, what's a decibel? What is a decibel, right? Well, a decibel is a bell named after Alexander Graham Bell, right? Is a measure of sound pressure. And a decibel, I believe, is a tenth of a bell. It's either 10 bells or a tenth, but I think it's a tenth. Remember, it's been over 40 years since I was in the military. And over a flat surface, every 3 decibels, you double the sound pressure. Not necessarily what you hear, as you don't hear it quite as loud, but the energy. If underwater, where sound can go out in all directions, it takes 6 decibels to double the sound. Why? Because you don't have the sound reflecting off the floor. Right? The sound is traveling in 360 degrees like an expanding bubble. But over a flat surface, the sound can only move upwards. If it goes down, it bounces off the floor. So you keep that energy all goes in the up direction. Anyway, bits and pieces in my memory. I don't really have a coherent knowledge anymore of all the stuff I used to know about sound, but bits and pieces. I mean, one thing it does is, you know, I like to play guitar. My handle is 14 guitars. I like to build amplifiers, and a 5 watt amplifier, a 50 watt amplifier, I believe, is only twice as loud as a 5 watt amplifier, even though it's 10 times the amps. Or watts, I'm sorry, watts, 5 watts. 10 times the watts. I believe it takes 10 times the watts to double the sound. Loudness. That's an interesting thing that might not be intuitive to people. Boy, I gotta tell you, if you're not used to riding in sunlight like this, it can be distracting. I need to just keep my visor down and just live with the fact, just get used to it. I think the visor also has a little bit to do with my vision being a little funky because I'm not used to it. So my brain, I think, is like trying to focus close up on the visor with the left eye when I really needed to focus in the distance with my right eye, which is my distance vision eye. Definitely no shortage of whoop-de-doos on this trail nowadays. With the sun in my eyes, guys. Those who love the sound of me not talking are having a great time. Nice ride. Beautiful day. Beautiful day. Oh, that was nice. So glad I went. I was thinking of not riding because my stomach was so full of milkshake and hamburger, potato salad. Man, I'd hate to miss this. Beautiful, beautiful day. Alright. Why do I put my gloves under here? Because I've lost them on the ground too many times. Alright folks, if you enjoyed my video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see these videos when I make them, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.